Hello out there. We're on the air. It is Friday. It is a beautiful day in the world. Minus 26 here today once again. But man, is it nice. No snow anytime. I don't mind the cold, obviously, because I am inside for the majority of the day. It's pretty tough walking Arnie when it's this chilly, but I can do without the snow. So this is kind of perfect for me. It is a little bit chillier than most mornings in March, for sure, especially considering the winter we've had here. But we're good. I don't know why the default is always to start with talking about the weather. Seems like that's especially here in Canada. But anyways, good morning, everybody. I got a new mic today. How do I sound? Can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody hear me okay? How does it sound? I had the last couple days, the microphone was dog shit. I don't know if it's just an old mic or if it's something that I was doing wrong. But anyways, she gone. So, okay. Jag 20, Johnny, they say we're good. That's good. I apologize. The last couple shows have been horrible audio wise. So if I start sounding bad today, can somebody just let me know in the comments that you sound like a dipshit? Because I wish somebody would have told me yesterday. I probably wouldn't have been able to do anything live, but anyways, this should be good now. I did some tests this morning in terms of the gain on here and everything. So I think we should be good now. But the funny thing is I actually I was looking at ordering a new microphone on the weekend, last weekend. And of course, that always happens. It's the same in golf. Whenever you start thinking about getting a new putter, your old one usually starts working better in that case. But anyways, just weird how that works. So I want to give a shout out quickly to the Zap.stream is buzzing this morning. We got a couple 69s in there already, a couple 69 zaps. I love to see that. And it shows that now. I don't know how that happened. I actually asked Nostr this morning how to show the zaps on there. And like magic, it just happened. So I don't know. Interesting. Because those weren't showing up there yesterday on this. So anyways, took 3 minutes once again to say good morning, but good morning, everybody. YouTube, Zap.stream. Happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. Actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. If you are on YouTube, consider going to bitcoinjourney.ca/stream. That's going to take you directly to the Zap.stream. You don't need a Nostr account. It helps if you do, but you can just simply set up a profile on there with your name, and the live chat on Zap.stream is 10 times what it is on YouTube. So I'm going to start paying closer attention to the Zap.stream. I have it up here on my other screen, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm happy to see everybody in the chat here this morning. Daniel's in the house. Good morning, Bitcoin journeymen and women. We're living in the future. And I should give a shout out to the Living in the Future crew. I'm telling you, if you're somebody, we got three focuses on there. Number one, become better Bitcoiners. Number two, build businesses within Bitcoin and earn Bitcoin. And number three is the network aspect of it. And it's something that I really wish that I had. Honestly, when I first got into Bitcoin, I would have loved to have one person that I could talk to about Bitcoin. We got a group chat in there, lots of very knowledgeable and helpful people in that group chat supporting each other. One of the guys set up a YouTube channel yesterday, his first video he made. And I mean, you got a crowd of people who are wanting to support you there. So consider that if you haven't yet joined. You can click the description in the YouTube. It says Living in the Future. Check that out. 7-day free trial. And we got something really cool coming in April, which I'll maybe touch on a little bit later. So Anyways, look at the Zap stream. Some zaps are flying around. Daniel's in there. Letha's in there. Jose is in there. And Daniel said, maybe Kieran fixed it for you. And then sure enough, Kieran shows up in the live chat saying there was a problem with zaps, which I fixed today. Bitcoin is a pretty fucking cool community. I'm not going to lie to you. Good morning, Jose. Jose's in double chats this morning. Like that. Rock and roll. Good morning, wonderful Bitcoiners. Johnny. Speaking of Crypto Heathen, there he is right there. Check out Crypto Heathen's YouTube channel. He set it up yesterday. He's posting a video sometime in the next couple days. So show some support to our locals in here. Crypto Heathen, give him a subscribe on there and help him hit the ground running with his new YouTube channel. We'd appreciate that. Sachi, my fellow Manitoban, good morning, my friend. It is a grand rising. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Mike says, or hello, Costello. Is it Costello or Costello? Mike sounds much better. Thank you. Believe it or not, I got this new mic about a year ago because we do a weekly podcast for golf stuff. And so I got this new mic, and then all of a sudden, one day I just plugged it in and the mute button was flashing and it never worked again. I tried dozens of times. Every time I plug it in, it would just flash mute. All of a sudden it works again. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But anyways, great point from Daniel in here. He said, how cool is it to be so early on Zap.stream that the guy who built it just shows up on your show? Big shout out to Kieran. I did a Zap.stream exclusive show yesterday after the YouTube show, just to kind of introduce myself on there a little bit in terms of, I really want to put a focus on Zap.stream. We have to be supporting the people who are building in Bitcoin. Buying Bitcoin's easy. It is a way to support the network and grow the network, but we have to be supporting the people within Bitcoin, like Kieran, Zap.stream, and everybody building on Nostr. So the way we push this whole thing forward is that we have to do it. We have to support them, and we have to use the products and the tools that are available to us. So big shout out to Kieran in the Zap.stream. One thing, I forgot to do this, but one thing you'll notice on my videos now, and I want to just mention this quickly before we get into the show, but one thing you'll mention on the videos now is you can actually look at the King Golf. You can see the little logo up here in the top right-hand corner. That's our golf company. So on YouTube now, for the videos, I think I forgot to do it this morning, but I can actually post the hat that I'm wearing on YouTube. So you can see it in the other videos. You can probably see it in this one later. So if you're looking for a new hat and some new lifestyle gear, if you're a golfer or you're not, we get some very high quality gear there. So these hats is our golf brand, King Golf. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So you can look for that in the future. And I'm also going to give a discount, actually. I'll have to set up right after the show. But let's set up a discount code for everybody on here listening. And I'm going to call it, what should I call it? Let's call it BTC. BTC discount code. I'll get you 17% off all the items on there. And if you want to, I would prefer this route, but I'll give you 17% off. And if you want to pay in Bitcoin, just shoot me a message anywhere. Email 88sats@proton.me. And there's been quite a few people within the Nostr community and 88sats community who have been buying King Golf products and paying in Bitcoin. So pretty cool. If this something you need, something you want, would appreciate the support. So I'll set up the discount code right after the show, BTC, and you get 17% off just for being here today. Stephen, my friend from Ireland, good morning. Weekend is imminent. You know what? Usually I have some Baileys in my coffee on Fridays, but I ran out. So I guess I got to stay sober all morning now. Jose in the zap.stream says, I'm looking at the quarter zip. They are beauties, and we got some new ones coming out too. So check that out. King Golf. It's actually just KNG, as you can see in the logo there. KNGgolf.ca. There you have it. Some news today. Probably the biggest news that I wanted to talk about today, and just how much of a shit show Canada is right now, and the world. The whole world's going through the exact same thing. I saw that Europe yesterday started banning business payments over cash of $10,000 or something along those lines. And they also banned cryptocurrency payments. So I don't know, Stephen, have you been checking in on that, or have you been hearing anything with that in terms of, I'm not really sure who that all affects. I think it was the EU who did it. I'm not sure if Ireland would be in that conversation or not, but they're clamping down on cash payments and on cryptocurrency payments. And one thing to keep in mind, it's very easy to see news across the world and just think that it's probably not going to have an impact on you. But the way things are moving is that a lot of these countries are kind of in cahoots, you would say, and they're kind of moving at the same lockstep, we'll call it. So even though it's only happening in Europe right now, I have zero doubts that Canada will probably implement the same thing. So while you can do it, buy as much Bitcoin as you can, buy as much non-KYC Bitcoin as you can. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're in Canada, there's a way to buy Bitcoin from Bull Bitcoin at the post office with cash. I cannot believe it's allowed to happen in Canada, honestly. And so if you have some time, if you have some cash and you want to start focusing on the non-KYC aspect of it, get a Bull Bitcoin account. I think within the description, there's a referral code. I think you get $20 free Bitcoin, but we have to be doing this before things start moving here. It won't last. Obviously, governments change, policy changes, but we have to be ready for this kind of stuff. So shout out to Bull Bitcoin for doing really good work here in Canada. And make sure if you're a Canadian that you're using their services, because they are the best exchange here in Canada. I got itchy nose. I got an itchy eye today. So that's the EU. I wasn't going to touch on that, but it ties into this because Canada right now, Trudeau announced that he's what was it? Let me bring it up just so I don't screw it up. It was something about climate change. So he's putting, where is it? It's a bit of a scramble today. Arnie was good, better than yesterday. Yesterday he took a crap on the floor right before the show, so we had to delay it a little bit. So these are kind of the two things that are happening in Canada in sync. This is how crazy the world is right now. The old system is right now. Trudeau announces over $8 million in taxpayer funds will be used for research on how climate change interacts with democratic decline. So every day here in Canada, people go to work. 2 out of the 5 days, their money goes towards tax, funding our government, our insane fucking government. So Trudeau announced yesterday that he's going to give $8 million in taxpayer funds to fund research on how climate change interacts with democratic decline. So he says he warns Canadians about growing distrust of government and media being exacerbated by misinformation and disinformation. So that's what he's focused on right now. He's focused on how climate change is impacting the democratic process. That's Trudeau's number one priority right now. And he's given $8 million of our money to it. At the same time, also in Canada, there's a secret RCMP report warning that Canadians may revolt once they realize how broke they are. The coming period, this is a quote, the coming period of recession will accelerate the decline in living standards that the younger generations have already witnessed compared to earlier generations, reads the report. For example, many Canadians under 35 are unlikely to ever be able to buy a place to live. The report labeled secret is intended as a piece of secret operational information to be distributed only within the RCMP and among the decision makers in the federal government. So those two things those things happened on the same day yesterday in Canada. That's how crazy things are right now. Not just in Canada, but in governments. Governments have become so big, so fat, and so seemingly powerful that that's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with right now. So one thing I will say about that is that I have zero faith in any politician on earth. I don't care if Pierre Poilievre takes over next year. There's not a single politician on this earth that can change this, that can turn things around and get us out of the huge pile of debt that we've been enslaved into. So the best thing that we can do, and the thing that we are doing, is just simply opting out of that system. Not all at once. Obviously, you're not going to shut down your bank account. You're not going to quit your job today. But one thing that we can do is every single day, one day at a time, we can start moving our energy from that system, from that insane, corrupt system built on lies and secrets, into this new system of Bitcoiners, based on truth, based on honesty, and just based on such good people who are building for a common, better goal. So that's what I wanted to touch on in terms of Canada and how we can deal with that. We're not going to vote our way out of this. That's what I'll say. We're never going to vote our way out of this, because there's nobody on earth who can turn this around right now. We've gone too far. They've kicked the can too far down the road. There's no way of retracing from here. So opt out, choose Bitcoin, spend your time in Bitcoin with Bitcoiners, and that's how we win. It'll happen. It's happening. And we got something to feel good about on Friday, even though the clown world is in full force right now. Kieran says, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's kind of their idea. And one thing I would say, I don't know the average age of this, people who watch the show. I wish I did. And maybe Google Analytics could tell me that, but frankly, I don't really give a shit. But at the same time, I don't know how many people who are the younger generation watch this, but it said if you're under 35, you're probably not going to own a house. What I would say to that, and I've already said the F word twice, so we might as well keep things going. But I would give a big GFY to whoever would tell that to you. Whoever would tell you that you can't afford a house if you're under 35 right now, that would make me work even harder to prove them wrong and to opt out of that system that's telling you that. And we've looked at the graph in terms of how much the housing prices have actually come down in Bitcoin terms. So people who are still measuring their wealth, their day-to-day life in fiat, of course, they're not going to be able to afford a house because it's insane. It's absolutely insane, the housing market here. But what you can do is go to work. You can add value to the world. You can start saving in Bitcoin. And if you have some patience and a long enough time preference, you absolutely will be able to afford a house here in Canada. Not only a house, you'll have the best house on the block. Because if you look at the last 10 years, even though the housing prices in fiat dollars have gone up, if you look at it and compare to Bitcoin, they've actually dropped significantly. And it is a trend. I expect it to keep going forward as a trend, simply because we are the 1% of people who own Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin's not going away. People haven't figured that out yet. And if you are here, the one thing that you do have is time. Time is your friend. So if you are under 35 and somebody tells you that you're not going to own a house, tell them to fuck off and buy some Bitcoin and start saving in that. Start earning in that. They try to normalize this kind of stuff. Like Kieran said in the chat, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. If you want to, you can. That's what I'll say about that. Pal says, how about a bit of RFK Jr.? I saw RFK Jr. was talking about Ethereum. He was at a crypto conference a couple weeks ago. So I've lost a little bit of trust and faith in RFK since seeing that. And that's just my opinion. I do really like him. I love JFK as well, his uncle. And I think that he did have the intentions of changing. He was going to use silver, though. His idea was to go back to the silver dollar. He implemented it. And then a couple months later, I think it was, he got assassinated for it. And so with silver, would have been an improvement for sure, but it wouldn't have fixed things because there's still the ability to manipulate it. We have no idea how much the governments would actually hold. We need to be able to audit that. And you can always just produce more silver. If the price of silver goes up, if the demand for silver goes up, they'll just produce more of it. So it's not what we need. We'll say that. And gold's the exact same. I would say that silver is much more useful than gold. And if I was somebody who was, say, 100% in Bitcoin right now, I would be looking to get a little bit of silver as well. And the reason I say that is because you can get about, what is it, 50 silver coins for one gold coin in terms of how much you're paying for it. And silver, I think, is more rare and it's actually useful. Silver is in every device that we have. So buy Bitcoin, but if you're looking for like a metal to buy, silver is one. Letha just subscribed to Crypto Heathen. What a nice Friday that would be for a Crypto Heathen if everybody who watched the show today went over and subscribed to his channel. I think that is the difference with a lot of different communities and interest groups, we'll call them, is that Bitcoiners are very supportive people. And the one thing that we can do that's free to do is that we can subscribe, we can like, we can share, because it does make a difference and it's free to do. And the one thing that we want to do is push this whole movement forward. That's what all of our common goals are here. And so the easiest ways to do that are through subscribes, likes, and shares. And so let's give a good Friday to Crypto Heathen, and you can do it now. You can leave the show for a minute or two. Go subscribe to Crypto Heathen. James Bond is in the house. And Jad says, I'm getting my entire family's on this with, what is that? What are those things called? I was going to say telescope. Microscope? Is that what those things are called? Microscope. He's getting his entire family on this. Does that mean Bitcoin or on what? Anyways, Kieran in Zap.stream says that's a line from the WEF. Yep. The World Economic Forum. The one thing that weirds me out about those guys is that they're like out in the public about it. And I think part of their whole thing is that they have to warn people of things before they actually do it. So that is the line. Letha says, eat the bugs. Both, what's that bald-headed dipshit's name? I forget. It's been a while. I've actually kind of tuned myself out of that whole world. I used to spend hours a day on Twitter being just doom scrolling, interacting with people on there, and absolutely no reason for it. And thankfully, I've kind of got past that. It took me a while. Even when I talked about moving past it, it is still hard. It's a hard tie to cut off in your life, is that kind of stuff. But you have to think about it. Have you ever got into an argument online where one person admits that they were wrong? And I'm guilty of this on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's more of a recent one for me. But have you ever gotten into an argument online and somebody's like, yeah, you're right, I surrender? No. All you do is just waste time. All you do is feed that beast. You waste each other's time. Nobody wins. Nobody listens to the other person. They're just arguing for absolutely no reason. So that's part of this whole thing, is that we need to be focused not on arguing, not on Twitter. We need to be focused on what's happening here in Bitcoin, in the new world. Costello. I'm just going to call you Costello. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, but that's what we're going to say. Time is on our side. That's one thing that we have as the little guys in life. We don't have the $1 million real estate portfolios. We don't have the pension funds, but we do have time, and we can focus our time and our energy on building in this new system to set ourselves up for what is inevitable here, which is Bitcoin. Magnifying glass. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. And Klaus Slob. That's who else. Good. Thank you. Everybody's on the ball today. Nate's in the house. Good morning, my friend. Yes, I see the magnifier now. What did I say? Telescope or microscope? It's hard to think sometimes when you're live. Anyways, back to the news. This news segment, by the way, is sponsored by Bitcoin News. Bitcoin News, they do live show on Twitter on Mondays and Wednesdays, I think. I think it varies though every week, depending on what kind of guests they get on. Today, they're doing a show on eCash and Fedi. So if you got some time today, if you want to educate yourself on Fedi and eCash and kind of the ins and outs of that world, check out the Bitcoin News Twitter feed, and you can find the link there. It's pinned to their profile right now, I believe. So with that, I also got a couple links in there if you want to check out their website. It is a go-to website for me in terms of just finding news on Bitcoin. It's kind of how I help prepare for the show. So if you are somebody who likes staying in touch, make sure to check out Bitcoin News website, which is bitcoinnews.com. Believe it or not, I didn't do any metrics today, mostly because I was trying to get Arnie into his crate. I already set the time at 8:05, and so I was already late. So no metrics today, but I will show the mempool quickly. 25 minutes into the show. That's okay. So currently today, we are at block height 835,784. Foundry USA was the miner of this block. This is a great resource. I haven't talked about it for a little while, but if you are somebody who wants to, if you're a nerd, if you want to learn about Bitcoin and how everything works kind of behind the curtain, check out mempool.space. You can see every block that's mined. Once it crosses this line here in the middle, that's when the block has been mined. So every Bitcoin transaction you send gets put into the mempool, which is essentially over here, the yellow ones. So until your transaction fee is high enough where it gets picked up by a block, your transaction will just stay in limbo in the mempool. And then once your transaction fee is high enough or demand is low enough for it, you'll get placed into a block. And when that transaction enters a block, it is there forever. So if you're transacting on Bitcoin Layer 1 today, you're paying 21 sats per VByte. That is something that the people who are getting into Bitcoin in the next 5 years from now, they probably will never send a transaction on Bitcoin Layer 1. So we got to be happy, we got to be thankful, and we got to be pumped that we are kind of here this early in Bitcoin. That's the metrics. Nobody sponsors the metrics. Okay, what do we got going on Zap.stream here? I see a couple things. Daniel says he's weaning off of X now, trying to use nostr only. Me too. I mean, why would you use anything else? Nostr has everything that you need there, in my opinion. Has the community, has the resources. If you have any questions, you just type in a question and type ask nostr, and somebody will help you on there. Away she goes. We got Akaput is on Zap.stream. Good to see you, my friend. Jose also says, also getting off X, the conversation over there is way too dramatic. Plus, I can't handle all the shit coining and art enjoyers. Did you guys see that X is now in 22 states? They have a money licensing in 22 states. I'm not sure how to feel about that personally, because I think that what's going to happen there is Elon's going to connect everything with the Twitter accounts. I doubt you'll be able to use their money transmitting without a verified account. So with that, one thing you're going to do is you're going to verify yourself so it's easy for you to make payments online through the Twitter app. But you're also going to be connected to everything that you say on there. That's kind of their dream for this whole thing. I'm still on the fence about Elon, honestly. I think there's a lot of Bitcoiners who think that he's doing a lot of bad things, and a lot of Bitcoiners who think that he's doing a lot of good things. And I'm still kind of yet to be determined on my perspective and my opinion on Elon. But it is interesting nonetheless. And I do think he'll probably implement Bitcoin into Twitter. But unfortunately, it probably will be a verification step to get there. And Dogecoin as well, I think that will be on Twitter. I mean, he's made too many hints. He said too many things about Doge in the past. Elon's somebody who thinks about 10 years in the future. And that's what I love about him. And so I think that every time he says something, you have to pay attention to that. So the first time he mentioned Dogecoin, I bought about, I think it was like 100,000 Doge. And then he mentioned it again about 6 months later, And all of a sudden the price went up about 10 times. And so I cashed out, obviously, of my Dogecoin holdings, but I still have a little bit. I think that it is something that people will be using in the future, just kind of as like a fun thing. For example, if you go to the restaurant, instead of leaving a $5 bill or tipping in Bitcoin, maybe just send like 50 Dogecoins. I do think that there will be something in the future for that. So just something fun. I don't mind supplementing a little bit of my portfolio in crypto to a couple things like that. But the key there is that you want to have about 95% at least of your crypto holdings in Bitcoin. And then in the future, if you find a use case for a cryptocurrency, that's when you can exchange it for Bitcoin if you want to. But I think that Bitcoin is going to be the first horse to move. It always is. And I think it's going to decouple the rest of the cryptos by a significant margin in the coming years. So I'm definitely not shilling Dogecoin. I'm just being honest. I haven't bought any. It's not like if I earn some money, I put it into Dogecoin. I just still have some from 3 or 4 years ago, and that's when I was buying. I sold the majority of it. But that's kind of my advice is if you are somebody who's interested in those crypto coins, make sure that 95% of your total crypto portfolio is Bitcoin. You can do a little bit of gambling. That's all I see it as. It's just gambling. Same as if you're watching a sports game and you want to have a little bit more skin in the game, you put $10 on it. I see that exact same way as cryptocurrencies and like altcoins and stuff. It's just gambling. Nate, my man, he says, planning to join ITF tier tonight. I think he means living in the future tier tonight. We got a hell of a community in there, and it's only going to improve. Every day there's 2 or 3 new people joining. So it's pretty exciting. Hello, Cost Jello says, will it cost, or will it cost too much to send in 5 years? This is kind of a longer discussion, I think, in terms of the fees on Bitcoin. I got a different opinion than a lot of people on this. And I was listening to a guy by the name of Bob Burnett. He was on Preston Pish's show a couple weeks ago. And I was actually going to watch the whole show on the Living in the Future tier, but it's like an hour and a half. And I don't know if people really want to sit through that. But he was talking about how he thinks the transaction fees are going to be going up over time. And mining, obviously the miner rewards, the mining subsidy is going to go down. But he thinks that it's always going to be kind of where it is today in terms of if the mining subsidy goes down, the transaction fees are going to go up in the same amount. So let's say that a block subsidy right now is, let's look, we'll just dive into this a little bit. I do want to have a full discussion on this, I think, tonight or soon. But for now, let's just look at this. So if you go to mempool.space, you can actually see the breakdown of every block. And so it says the total fees. So this last block, there was 0.26 of a Bitcoin paid in transaction fees. So every transaction on layer 1, you pay a transaction fee. All of those transaction fees go towards the miner who mined that block. With that, right now comes a subsidy of 6.25 Bitcoin. So the total for this last block was 6.51 Bitcoin. And so Bob's theory on this is that over time, the subsidy is going to go down, but the fees are going to go up in that sense. So the subsidy total fees for both, he thinks it's going to be about 6 Bitcoin every block. I don't think that's going to be the case. And the reason I say that is because since Bitcoin originated back in 2009, the reason why the incentives for miners to keep going is because the fiat price continues to increase over time. As the network grows, as the adoption grows, the fiat price of Bitcoin grows as well. And so that's what's keeping their mining facilities in operation. They have to pay their electricity bills. So I think that the fees will probably stay the same. This is kind of my theory on it. So in 10 years from now, I think the fees are probably going to be about the same in terms of 21 sats per VByte on average. But think about what that's going to cost, because I'm somebody who believes that the sat dollar parity is going to happen where $1 equals 1 sat. And so if you're thinking in those terms, that's going to cost you $21 per VByte. So it is going to still be very expensive to send Bitcoin, but the actual transaction fees in terms of Bitcoin will not change. Because as the price goes up, their revenue goes up with that in terms of fiat. And so that's kind of my theory on it. I don't think that the fees are going to continue to go up over time. I think the fiat price is going to continue to go up over time, but the actual price in Bitcoin should stay the same. And that's why we have such an advantage now in terms of fees, in terms of different things like the AI stuff. If you're somebody who's learning how to pay the AI in Bitcoin right now, and you're holding Bitcoin, think about how much future leverage you're going to have with that compared to people who don't have any Bitcoin right now. They're going to be paying the Bitcoin costs, same as you, but you got it at a much better rate originally. LV9 Slacker says Elon is trying to create the non-Chinese WeChat, the everything app. And he's creating a spy satellite network for the US government. Things like that make me not trust Elon, but he's done a lot of cool things too as well. So I'm kind of back and forth. The US government has probably been Elon's biggest, by far, biggest revenue source. And so it kind of depends on what your theory is with the government, the US government, and kind of where things are at right now. I know we see Sleepy Joe on TV, on the news, but if you believe that that's real life and that's actually happening, then I don't know. I think that I'm on a different page than that. I think that there's just something that's been going on for these last 4 years, especially, that I think most people are unaware of in the behind the scenes, we'll call it. But that's just my speculation. So time will tell. Time will tell. James Bond says, honesty, bravo. I think it's the most important thing. I got nothing to hide. I'm not selling anything on here. I'm just talking through what could happen, what might happen, and people can subscribe to that or not. But honesty, I think, is the best policy with everything. Into the future. Yeah, it's living in the future. And I said yesterday within the chat, I wish it would have been LITAF or lit as fuck. Rick says, have you smashed the like yet? That's a good question, Rick. Have you? Okay, let's show a clip here that I brought up. This is from the Bitcoin news site as well. So let's see what we got here. This is a good one. For the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about this as kind of my theory, another theory of mine. That's all that they are. Just theories, but this is a theory I've been talking about in terms of Coinbase. And my opinion on it is that Coinbase, the next bear cycle is going to be because of Coinbase. There's too much centralized money. All the ETFs hold their Bitcoin with Coinbase. And I think that would be the easiest thing for the US government. Once Bitcoin gets to where we think it's going to go, the easiest thing for the US government is just going to be to shut down Coinbase. And when that happens, I think it's going to be a huge problem for the people who are holding ETFs. And I think there's going to be a huge crash. But with every crash comes a lot of opportunity. And if we're ready for that, if we have our Bitcoin off of the exchanges in our own cold storage, we will be completely unaffected by that. So let's watch this. This is from Bitcoin News this morning. And this was a clip from Marty's show. What's it called? TFTC? That sounds right. So let's bring this up. It's a 2-minute clip talking about exactly what I've been saying in terms of Coinbase. It just makes the most sense. It just makes the most sense to me. This isn't a guarantee. This is just what I think is going to happen. And Tour tends to agree. So let's check this out.
These ETFs, if they're going to be responsible and proper fiduciaries, they should custody this Bitcoin in multi-institution, multi-sig, where you don't have a
It's
single
like
point of
obvious.
failure.
Yeah. And also, it's embarrassing how little insurance there really is. I think Coinbase is only insured for like $400 million.
I think it's like 1% of their hot wallets, not even.
Oh my God. It's like, and so that means that this ETF, of all the ETFs that exist in the world, which is probably thousands, is probably the single most high risk ETF that you can own, where you have genuine risk realistically in the next 5 or 10 years to get wiped out. Because people think an ETF is like golden, right? Somehow. But like the Fed is this gets hacked. No. So, and it'll be, I mean, so that's kind of what I think is the likely next phase is like, this is gonna be a bad event that happens somewhere during this bull cycle. And then the Fed is gonna be like the cavalry coming in, or the regulators, and they're gonna be like, hey, we need more regulation, even though if we like turn back the clock and look at what happened, is like, no, it's because you guys pretended to give this one seal of approval, or like pretended to do your due diligence and then give only one company your seal of approval that this could happen in the first place. But never mind that, they're going to come in and say, hey, we need more regulation. And then I think they're going to start pushing for a Federal Reserve of Bitcoin. Like, it's weird to say it, right? But that seems the logical next step, that they're going to be like, we need kind of a fund that is more thoroughly protected, so that when these custodians go bankrupt, we can then provide relief to the people that have lost money, and at least give them a smaller haircut, or blah blah blah. It's just all the usual stuff we know from the 1910s here in the US. Like, it's I don't know. It feels a bit like overly simplistic. Like maybe there's going to be other ways that they're going to want to intervene that I'm not seeing. But yeah, so that's another reason I think why you want to keep your money out of these regulatory darlings.
There we go. That's what you get for tuning into the daily Bitcoin journey every day. You get a head of tour de Minimeister, or whatever his name is. I'm just joking. But honestly, for the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure people within the chat here can attest to this, this is what I've been talking about. Exactly this. And I said that Coinbase is going to be the next event. They're going to get hacked, or they're going to get subpoenaed by the government. And think about that. Think about if things play out the way we think it's going to within this bull run, what the price could get to, how many Bitcoin are being held by Coinbase through these ETFs, and think about the value of that. If they got hacked and all of a sudden it's worth $1 trillion that Coinbase is holding in Bitcoin, and all of a sudden they get hacked or they get subpoenaed, and all of that is gone or in the tank for a while, that's going to have a huge impact on Bitcoin. And I mean, the one thing that we have to keep in mind with Bitcoin is that there are going to be things like this where it's going to go up forever, just because that's how it's designed. It's a fixed supply and deflationary, I guess, in a way, but it's designed to go up forever. But we also have to remember that there's going to be lows. There's going to be lots of dips throughout that whole process. I do think they're going to be less and less. They're going to run out of bullets. They're going to run out of tools. But it does seem to me like they're almost setting up for that right now. But it's going to have no impact on us. It's going to slow things down. It's going to crash the price. But kind of I got a lot of different theories and values on the show. But the theory there is that in that situation, we're in a very good spot right now. If you're somebody who's holding Bitcoin at this point in self-custody, you're so far ahead of the game. Because if that doesn't happen, you're going to be very wealthy. You're going to be very wealthy. And over time, you will be. If you're here long enough, you're going to be very wealthy. And if something like that were to happen, excuse me, you're going to get cheaper Bitcoin, because there's no way for them to stop Bitcoin. There's ways like that. I think that could be the biggest way for them to try to slow down Bitcoin, but there's no way for them to stop it. So if you have your Bitcoin in cold storage and self-custody, you hold the keys to that Bitcoin, you're going to be unaffected by that crash. The only thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to be able to buy more sats for cheaper. And one thing, if you are a Bitcoiner and you've been here for a while, there's nothing better than when Bitcoin drops. Nothing better than that. It might even be better than when Bitcoin goes up, honestly. Sorry, I'm missing a couple of chats here, but that's okay. Zap.stream. Sorry, Daniel, I missed your comment here. Says that was a good rip with Bob Burnett. I do recommend people check that out. I was going to show it on the show on the Living in the Future, but if you have some time this weekend, check out that interview with Bob Burnett and Preston Pish. He says the block space will be a traded commodity for sure. Block space futures will be a huge market, probably starting next cycle. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. And I do think that there's a couple of different ways to look at that as well, because if fees get high enough in terms of like fiat prices, if fees get high enough, I do think the demand for it will drop. But if you think about how many people are still going to be coming into Bitcoin and the people who will be using Bitcoin and will pay any fee to be transacting on layer one, like the banks, like the countries, like the corporations who are holding Bitcoin, they're all going to be sending Bitcoin back and forth, and they're going to pay whatever fee is available to prioritize that transaction. And so that will increase demand. When that happens, the supply should drop by the everyday person like me and you. We're going to find other ways to send Bitcoin through Lightning, through Feddies, through eCash. So I don't know how valuable the block space will be in the future. It will definitely be more than it is today, though. So think about those two things. One is that the people who are going to be using the block space aren't here yet. That's going to drive it up. As the fees go up, the people like me and you who are using layer one today aren't going to be using it anymore. So demand is going to drop. So with those two things, I think it'll even out, but we still have to keep in mind that we are the 1% of people in Bitcoin right now. And so with that other 99%, the net of that will be an increased demand for block space. So I do agree with Daniel. It will be a huge market. It will be very scarce in the future. So I don't know if there's a way for us to get in on that right now. I don't think that there is yet, but that would be something that I definitely go long on. I'm not a huge gambler in terms of going short, going long. I just buy Bitcoin and secure it. But I do think that I might put some money on that in terms of the block space demand going up. I would bet long on that one. LV9 Slacker says the beast is starved for money. Everything that we see right now, Trudeau spending $8 million on research to see how climate change is impacting people's trust in government. That's what's happening there. The governments are just scraping by. Think about a person who is in, say, a couple $100,000 worth of debt. They got a couple credit cards on the go. Everything that they do in life is just focused on getting through another day. They sell some stuff. They pick up another job. They don't have time to think ahead. They don't have time to plan. All they're doing is just trying to keep their head above water. That's exactly what our government's going through right now. So they're going through every single thing that they can find and sending money to them, but they're really just covering their own costs because they've become so fat. And as people lose trust, as people stop remitting to the government, that's only going to get worse and worse. So they're going to be forced to print, and the value of Bitcoin is going to just keep going up and up and up. Crypto Ethan says, I could absolutely see them orchestrating some hack or malfunction as a psyop to push regulation. 100%. These people are not going to go down without a fight. We have to keep that in mind, and we have to be ready for that. Coinbase is 100% in bed with the US government. I have no doubt about that. And I think that was a big part of these ETFs getting approved. There were a few, like Fidelity. Fidelity holds their own keys to their Bitcoin, but they couldn't just say no to Fidelity. They had to push them through as well. So that's another thing that we can do in terms of if you are somebody who has an ETF, choose a company like Fidelity or I think Van Eck is the other one who's holding it with Kraken, but choose them instead of the Coinbase ones. That's the logical thing to do, and one thing that we can do. Crypto Heathen says they've already been conveniently shutting down when the price runs up too fast. Yep. Pretty standard stuff in Bitcoin. So with that, we're not shutting down the show yet. We're already at 50 minutes, but I still have some stuff to talk about here. But with that last comment there, one thing you can do, and one thing I would advise you to do, is get on a few different non-KYC exchanges and just have those accounts ready. You could even do it with a couple KYC exchanges as well. If you want to take this stuff seriously, you have to be ready for everything. And the more tools that you can have in your Bitcoin toolbox, I think the much better off you're going to be prepared to handle whatever comes your way. So I think I might put together some sort of document. I already have it in place in terms of just different things you can do if you're in Canada or in the US, in terms of getting set up on exchanges, which wallets to use. So you don't have to subscribe to anything here. Just shoot me an email, 88sats@proton.me, and I'll send you a few different links and referral codes that you can use to sign up on accounts. And even if you don't use them, even if you just sign up and you kind of have that on the back burner in case your main exchange goes down, then you have these guys to fall back to. And you're not going to be able to do that when it's happening. You want to do that in advance of before it happens. So if that sounds like something that you want to do in terms of setting yourself up, just shoot me an email and I'll send over the links I have prepared. I'll probably put something together more formal in the future, but for now, I'll just fire a few links over to you and you can do what you want with that. So if you're in Canada or in the US, just shoot me an email, 88sats@proton.me. Bitcoin will become the new SWIFT network. It will only be affordable by the ultra wealthy nation states and banks. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more with that. But that's okay. That's okay. We don't need to be using layer one for everything. We've kind of got used to a very low fee environment through the last X amount of years. We don't need to, though. If we're sending Bitcoin back and forth, and kind of in the last couple months, I've been much more proactive in terms of setting up Lightning channels and setting up different ways for the future when I want to spend some Bitcoin, have that ready to go. And that's what we need to be doing today, not waiting for it to happen. So I do agree there. Good morning. There's a new face in the chat, SY Daily Diverse. Question: if I transfer Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, then everything is fine. Will the Bitcoin go to the wallet on the Lightning Network as well? So one thing to keep in mind with the Lightning Network is that everything is always online. So it's a hot wallet. Every Lightning is Bitcoin. It's the same thing. It's just a different way to send it back and forth. But it's always online. That's why it's called hot and cold storage. So if you have any Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, it is online. And so a couple things to keep in mind there is that if you're using a Lightning wallet, like Wallet of Satoshi, which is the easiest one to use, I use it all the time for Nostr and for different things. It is the easiest one to use, but you have to keep in mind that it is custodial. So this is what happened to me on Wallet of Satoshi is I had a wallet on an old phone, Wallet of Satoshi. I think I had about 30,000 sats on there. I went to update the app because something wasn't working for it on there. Went to update the app on Wallet of Satoshi. And because my phone was too old, it just wouldn't open after that. And so because Wallet of Satoshi is a custodial wallet, they hold the keys to your Bitcoin. That Bitcoin's gone. I'll never see those 30,000 sats again. And the exact same thing would happen if I lost that old phone or if it got stolen, whatever that may be, or if it just stopped working. Because Wallet of Satoshi holds the keys to that wallet, I don't own that Bitcoin. They own it. I'm just using it, right? So it's very easy to do. It's free to use, but you have to keep that in mind because you actually don't hold the keys to your Bitcoin on there. So one thing I would do is I would use Wallet of Satoshi. They're a very good wallet, but just keep a balance on there that you're comfortable losing, essentially, because it could happen at any time. So keep that in mind, I would say, in terms of Wallet of Satoshi. If you are somebody who wants to get set up on Lightning for the future, I would set up a Lightning channel on there. It costs 10,000 sats to do, but you fund the wallet, you set up a Lightning channel, and then you can hold the keys to that Bitcoin. Everything's kept online. Everything's kept on Lightning, on Phoenix, but you have the keys to that. So they give you a backup phrase for that. And if something were to happen to your phone or it got stolen, you could always just enter in your 12 words and recover the wallet that way. Rock and Roll says Wallet of Satoshi keys are recoverable by email. I did not know that. How do you do that? I did not know that. But yes, in terms of Lightning, that's kind of what I would start with. Those two wallets are the easiest. Wallet of Satoshi is the easiest one to set up. Cheap, fast, easy, but you don't hold the keys to it. So just keep a balance on there that you're comfortable losing. But according to Rock and Roll here, he says Wallet of Satoshi keys are recoverable by email. I did not know that. So that's that question. Anya Sonia, love your work. Where's Anya Sonia? Did I miss that comment? I don't know. Oh, baby, Zap.stream. We got lots going on here. Late here. Does Phoenix offer options to avoid this being a non-custodial Lightning node? I have trouble connecting it. I used to have trouble with Phoenix when you're sending Bitcoin on Lightning back and forth on your phone. The one thing to keep in mind with Phoenix as well is that you have to be connected to it to receive Lightning payments, right? So with Wallet of Satoshi, it's always online. You can set up your Wallet of Satoshi address, same as like a Get Alby. So for example, on Zap.stream, I connect my my Get Alby account, and that's where the sats from Zap.stream go to, because it's always connected. It's always online. If you set up a Phoenix wallet and you provide somebody with your Lightning address from there, your wallet has to be connected for you to receive that payment. So just because your channel is open on Phoenix, that doesn't mean that you can receive payments unless you have the channel online. So you essentially have to have your app open and connected to the Lightning Network in order to receive any Bitcoin. So you can't use like a wallet or a Phoenix wallet unless you're running your own node, which is always connected. That's kind of a whole different story though. But if you're just using Phoenix as like your basic wallet, it has to be connected in order for you to receive Bitcoin. That's my take on it anyways. Oh, so Jose says if you signed up with your email, you should be able to log back into your account and get the sats back. I gotcha. I don't remember ever putting in my email to Wallet of Satoshi, so that's probably why. But that is a good move. One thing I would do there is anytime you're setting up a new account on anything, is just create a brand new email for that. If you don't want it to be associated with you in any way, like Wallet of Satoshi, then just create a brand new Proton mail address and use that. So all Primal needs is a name and an email. So that's another option too. Phoenix is incredibly expensive as well. It's something that I would only use Phoenix as like your savings account on Lightning. So the only thing that I use Phoenix for essentially is that I'm basically keeping the Bitcoin that I want to be spending in the next cycle. So say that, let's say I have 1 million sats on Phoenix, and I find a product online. I want to reward myself for, holding on to the Bitcoin for a while. I want to buy a t-shirt online using Lightning. So I use that instead of having to pay on layer 1 or transfer fees to Lightning. I already have kind of something set up there, and that's what I use Phoenix for. So it definitely is incredibly expensive if you're moving Bitcoin on chain into there all the time. But if you have something that you can just send Lightning only into Phoenix, it works pretty good. So just be aware of that. Be aware of the fees associated with Phoenix. Every time you move Bitcoin that's on chain into Phoenix, they charge you for it because you're moving from layer 1 to Lightning. And so there is a fee. There's an incoming fee for that. So if you don't know what you're doing on Phoenix, it can be very expensive for sure. So hopefully this helps a little bit. I know not everybody in the chat needs to know this or asked for it, but part of the show is just talking through things, because this is something that I was completely unaware of a couple months ago until I actually started using it and finding out the ways to use it most efficiently. So that's that. If you are in the Zap.stream chat today, I want to say thank you for being here. This has probably been the most popular day we've had so far on Zap.stream. I have a goal. The cool thing about Zap.stream is you can set up a goal for every stream in terms of how many sats you want to get and the title for it. So this one's just good karma for today. So if you want some good karma, head over to the Zap.stream and you can send a couple sats over there today. If you are somebody who's been watching on YouTube and you are a Bitcoiner and you're fairly well versed in Bitcoin, check out bitcoinjourney.ca/stream. And that'll take you directly to my Zap.stream page. And I'm streaming every single show on there from now on. So there's people saying that they're having trouble zapping the stream. Whoops. Maybe Kieran's still in the chat and we can look into that. I did see a couple though. A couple came in. Jose sent 69. Daniel sent 69 and 9791 sent 69. So I appreciate you guys very much. The cool thing about Bitcoin and Lightning, Nostr, Zap.stream is that it allows people who don't really want to pay for a recurring monthly membership if they don't feel like they'll get anything from it, but they also want to support the creator. Very easy to do. And without signing up, without putting your information in, you can just simply send over some Bitcoin. And it does go a long way. It's so fucking cool that we can do this. Honestly, it just makes me so excited and completely forget about the price of Bitcoin most days, just because there's so many cool things being built on Bitcoin right now. I think that's it. Believe it or not, the title of the show today was "Why Do People Get Bitcoin?" And I never even touched on it after an hour into the show. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. So it says, telling me that you don't have Lightning Wallet set up. Weird. So Jose just sent another 69 sats in there. So it is connected. I can see it coming into the wallet. So I don't know, my friend. Oh, and look at that. Somebody just sent 420 sats. Wow. Pretty cool. I wish I could see the name there. It just says NPub though. Damn, I love that. I love that a lot. Thank you. So, Pal says, seriously seems like Bitcoin is just ready for a store of value use case. All these other Zap wallets seem so technical and temperamental. I tend to agree. And sorry, I just want to finish my coffee here. I do tend to agree with that. That's one thing that I've struggled with in terms of these last couple of years of my life. Oh, sorry, that was Recon Graves sent 420 sats. That's awesome. It showed up now. So with that, one thing I've struggled with in terms of getting people to get onto this kind of stuff is just because it is so technical. And there's so many things that can go wrong. There's so many very finicky things that can happen within the experience. We're definitely not there yet. We're not at the Apple moment where you can just do things so seamlessly in Bitcoin. I would say that Zap.stream is fairly easy to connect to. If you have a Get Alby wallet, you can set up your Lightning address through there, and that's basically what just connects to your browser. And it's very easy to send. Like I can do, I'm going to zap Recon Graves here if I can find them. So all I do is I just press zap. It connects to my, it doesn't even connect to my Get Alby actually. There's a little bit of a delay there. But the thing is once you have kind of a good understanding of how Lightning works and the different wallets that you need to be using, you can fairly easily connect to all these different things. And I do think that Nostr is going to be a big boost to that in terms of how people connect to everything and connect to their Lightning address so easily. I'm kind of under the impression that in these next 5 or 10 years, Apple's going to get into Bitcoin in a very serious way. And they're going to make it so that you have a Lightning wallet essentially built into your phone, and you can connect it very easily to any different application or nostr client or whatever that is, if you want to. That's going to bring in the person who has zero experience with Bitcoin, and it's going to allow them to do that. It's going to provide that bridge for them to do that without any sort of technical knowledge on it. Sorry, I'm just trying to send a zap here, but it's not working. As I say, it's very easy to use. Oh, well, maybe I'm not connected. No, I am, because these apps are coming in here. So anyways, I think I'll save this conversation for another day because we're already at 1 hour and 5 minutes. And I don't think we need to be turning these shows into an 1.5 hour shows. So maybe we'll talk about this a different day. It turned out to be a pretty good show though today. I'll end with a couple things here in terms of what we can do this weekend to really help push things forward here and just to give some resources for you. So one thing I would say, number one, based on that last comment here, I'll bring it up again. But number one, in terms of learning these different things, in terms of figuring out your way around Bitcoin, Lightning, Nostr, Zap.stream, the one thing that you can do, and one thing I would recommend doing, is just take like $50. Take $50, put it into Bull Bitcoin, send it to your Lightning wallet, and just play around with that. Consider that an investment for your Lightning Bitcoin education. Just play around with that. You can spend it all. Zap people on Nostr, on Zap.stream. Figure out how to use Lightning effectively and efficiently, and just consider that an investment in Bitcoin. $50. Put it in Lightning, do some cool shit. And with Nostr, the cool thing about that is that you can set up a Nostr account, you connect it to that Lightning wallet, and you can just send some zaps. And I think that that is the best way to start building a network on Nostr. That's how you get people's attention on Nostr, is send a zap. So consider that an investment in your learning and in your network aspect of it. Kieran just sent 1,000 sats on Zap.stream. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that more than you know. The second thing I would do, check out the Bob Burnett interview on, maybe we'll have a better conversation about it next week, but even if we don't, I think you can get a lot of information from that interview. So it's Bob Burnett, Preston Pish. Check that out if you have some time this weekend. They talk about the mining industry. They talk about block space. They talk about transaction fees. And it's pretty cool to hear a guy like Bob talk because he's been around the industry for so long. He went through the internet phase, the early internet phase, the dot-com bubble, financial crash, and he's here today. And so those are the guys you need to pay attention to because they've lived through this stuff already. Bitcoin is no different than the internet. The only difference between Bitcoin and the internet is that you can actually own a piece of Bitcoin. With the internet, you could buy a website and you could sell that later for a little bit more money. But with Bitcoin, you can actually hold a piece of that whole protocol. That's going to change the entire world, the way we do everything in the world. And you can own a piece of that today. So that's number two. And also check out, I was looking at Bitcoin news today and there was a tweet from Upstream Data on there. Check out on Twitter. Don't get into any arguments on there, but check out Upstream Data. They're a Canadian Bitcoin mining company, or they build mining equipment. They build like hashing huts. So I'm very interested in that because I have some open space out here where I live. And so I'm interested in possibly getting a hashing hut one day. And that's basically just a shipping container that they make there that you put all your Bitcoin miners in, connected to electricity, and mine Bitcoin that way. So they're doing some really cool things here in Canada, but he just does a different bunch of different discussions, features, videos, walks you through their facility there, talks about what they do, And so if you have some time on your board, check out Upstream Data on Twitter. Upstream Data. Kieran says that's like 1,000 Canadian pesos. We're not too far off from that, Kieran, honestly. I think that the SAT dollar parity will happen much faster in Canada than it does for the US. We're not quite there yet, but as we talked about at the start of the show, it's going to get pretty nasty here in Canada. So the best thing we can be doing is opting out of that vampire corrupt system and spending our time here. And the third thing that I would tell you is that these last couple of weeks since we started the living in the future tier, I've been blown away by the amount of people in there, the amount of support and energy in there. It's incredible. And that's something that I wish that I would have had when I first got into Bitcoin. If I would have had one person that I could talk to about Bitcoin, I would have been over the moon. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are feeling the same kind of way in terms of having nobody to talk to about Bitcoin, nobody to bounce different things off of with Bitcoin. So with this, there's a group chat. You can ask anything you want in there. You can share resources and just talk about different things. I would have killed to have that when I first got into Bitcoin, and even a couple months ago. And that's the whole reason I set this thing up. That's usually when I think the best things are created when there's a problem and you find a solution for that. And that's exactly what this is. So I had to obviously charge a little bit because I don't want a bunch of spam in there, but I would highly recommend checking out Living in the Future. You can find it in the description below here. You can do a 7-day trial on there. If you don't like it, just cancel it. But I guarantee that you will get some value from it. We're doing a bunch of cool things there, and there's some great people in there every single day talking Bitcoin. And that's just one aspect of it. So in April, I got a whole month planned out in terms of what we're going to be talking about and Living in the Future. It's about I got 7 things so far. We're going to do 7 different shows, kind of like a refresher in a way, just to make sure that if you are somebody who's been in Bitcoin and you're kind of either complacent or bored, or you just need a refresher on things, we're going to go through a few different things, processes, inheritance stuff, and a different mindset shift as well. So that's what we got planned for April. So check that out. If you're a new Bitcoiner or an intermediate Bitcoiner, there's something in there for you. So Living in the Future. And if you have any questions on it, shoot me an email. I'm very open, very flexible with everything. 88sats@proton.me. You can also find that in the description. Last question here. This is what we'll end with today. Where do the companies that have an ETF buy their Bitcoin for their customers who buy an ETF? I actually don't know that. So that was a bad question to end on. The one thing I know about the ETFs is that they have to actually hold the Bitcoin in self-custody or in Coinbase, I guess. They can't just create paper Bitcoin. That's the part of the ETFs that I do understand. I think they get a lot of their Bitcoin from over-the-counter exchanges. So those are basically exchanges that aren't like all algorithms and technology. That's like people calling back and forth saying they hold Bitcoin, they'll sell some Bitcoin, they'll buy some Bitcoin, but it's real human. So I'm actually set up on an exchange, an over-the-counter exchange that I have used before, basically because they are humans. And so if you're buying Bitcoin on ShakePay, Coinbase, Kraken, you're basically it's just all, what would you call it? High frequency stuff, right? It's all just software. But if you're talking to somebody on the other end of the line, a human, and you're buying Bitcoin, you're selling Bitcoin, you have somebody to talk to there. So I kind of mentioned earlier in the show, if you're somebody who wants to decentralize yourself a little bit and prepare for any potential crashes within exchanges, just shoot me an email, 88sats@proton.me. I'll send you, I think I have about 4 or 5 different exchanges that I recommend. And one of them is actually an over-the-counter exchange from Australia. So I think the referral link gets you 30% off your commissions. I have used them before. I've had clients use them before, and they are excellent. So you can buy Bitcoin, send them a wire, talk to a real human being, and then as soon as you bought that Bitcoin, they'll send it to your cold storage. So it's pretty good for like wire transfers and stuff. If you are somebody who wants to spend $10,000, $20,000, $100,000, over the counter is a really good idea for that. I just feel much more comfortable when you're dealing with tens of thousands of dollars. You want to have somebody on the other end of the line that you can actually talk to and make sure that everything is right. So with that, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have the best weekend of your entire life. It's my little brother's birthday this weekend, so we're heading to the city. We got to take Arnie in the car again. So last time he went 4 for 4, two pukes on the way there and 2 pukes on the way home. So we'll see if he's matured from that or not, but I don't plan on it. We might even put a garbage bag in there for him just so we don't have to wash all the sheets. So there will be no, actually I'm home tomorrow, but I probably won't do a show. This episode was titled, Why Do People Get Bitcoin? We did not even cover that today at all. And we still got in an hour and 15-minute show here. So I don't know what we're doing here, but it is fun. I appreciate everybody showing up. Consider joining the Living in the Future tier for any of those 3 reasons. Becoming a better Bitcoiner, building in Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin, and having a network there, a group of people that you can trust and that you can ask questions to. And at the end of the day, we're just going through this whole thing together. So shout out to YouTube, shout out to zap.stream. Have a great weekend, everybody. I appreciate you very much. And we'll see you right back here first thing on Monday morning. Bye-bye.